So now let's start with our Vivekachudamani lecture. And we finished our last class with verse number 56, I suppose, where Shankaracharya ji is telling us that it's not only reading, listening, but to practice is the one which we need to do. Nobody can do practice for us. We have to do it ourselves. Only then this identification with the Brahma will experience. Because ultimately it has to be the experience, our experience, just not only the reading about it or listening. And this is what's called sadhana. We need to do the sadhana. So let's look at, he gives us several examples to bring this point more crystal clear for us. Vinaya Roop Saundaryam Tantri Vadan Shotisham Prajaranjan Matram Tan Samrajyaye Kalpate. Veena is an instrument, a musical instrument. So of the Veenaya. Roop Saundaryam. It's a beautiful form. Tantri Vadan Short Sham. The proficiencies of one in playing of its chords. It's a chord instrument, Veena. Praja Ranjan Matram, to please an audience only. Tat means that, na means not, Samrajyai of sovereignty. Kalpate makes competent. So the beauty of the Veena and the proficiency of one playing on its chords serve but to please an audience. They do not by themselves ever prove sufficient to confer full sovereignty. Okay, you don't become a king by just playing the instrument. So no matter how beautiful the instrument is, no matter how beautifully you are playing it, all you are doing is just playing that instrument. Okay, so this is in connection with the previous verse. We can do beautiful asanas. We can recite the mantras. Theoretically, we can know the whole philosophy of Vedic philosophy, but if we don't practice it and if we don't experience it, we have not become one with the Brahma. So this is the point he's trying to make here. So the seekers cannot gain the status of godhood by merely dabbling in the philosophy. Philosophy has a means. Hatha yoga has a means. There's a reason we do it. But then we got to rise above all this stuff. Then in the next one, he says, Vag Bakri, Shabad Jhari, Shastra Vyakhyan Koshlam, Vedushyam Vidusham, Tadvad Bhukte, Nat Muktaya. Vag Bakri, long speech or a loud speech. Shabad Jhari, a stream of words. Shastra Vyakhyan Koshlam, efficiency on commenting about the scriptures. Vedushyam and Vidusham. Vidusham is the learned person and Vedushyam is what that learned person does, erudition. Tadvad, like that. Bhugte, of material satisfaction. Na means not, tu means but, muktaya, for liberation. So loud speech in a stream of words. The efficiency in expounding or commenting upon the scriptures. These bring only a little joyous material satisfaction to the scholar. But they are insufficient to liberate him completely. See, there are several stages on this path. So all he's mentioning over here is these are just stages. Even in speaking also, there are stages of speech also. And this Vag Vakri is one of the stage on the speech. Often we have talked about 4 distinct stages in our thought manifestations. Ultimately, we can express it in words. The very first stage is called a par stage. So the thought arises and we are in contact with the reality. Par. It's the subtlest. But when it manifests, it's called pashyanti. So when it manifests, it's sufficiently for the ego in us to be conscious of it. So when it's at a par stage, we know it, but we cannot express it. When we can express it, it's called pashyanti. That means a state grosser than the par. Then after pashyanti, a thought comes. When we are even more conscious of that and we can mold it into a language. We can transcribe our thoughts in a series of symbolically sounds. It's like a purpose of conveying the message. That is called madhyama. So par pashyanti madhyama. And then the last stage, which he has mentioned in this verse, Vag Vakri. So Vakri is when we can express audible sounds in the grossest manifestation. Like we got to use a lot of words to express it. That's called a Vakri. So in other words, Par is the supreme sound. Pashyanti is the visible sound. Like a Om. And then Madhyam is a middle sound, where there are a variety of basic sounds, but they are very subtle. And then Vakri is the grossest level of sound, like an ordinary speech, the way we speak. That is a Vakri. So over here, he's saying loud speech in a stream of words, the efficiency in expounding or commenting about the scriptures. See, commentaries are always longer than the scriptures. These bring only a little joyous material satisfaction. Material satisfaction means, sure, you'll have, other people might say that, yeah, you know so much. That kind of a material satisfaction. Sometimes it could be you have written a book and you start making money from it. That's a material satisfaction. But they are insufficient to liberate him completely. So liberation doesn't come from there. Okay. So according to Shankaracharya, mere knowledge of the philosophical thoughts can be used only for the purposes of eking out a profit for our own livelihood or gaining some popularity, which will be short-lived. That is not the purpose of life. That's what he's trying to tell us. Then, avigyate pare tattve shastra adhiti tu nishvalah vigyate api pare tattve shastra adhiti tu nishvalah. Avigyate. Avigyate means has not been known. Pare tattve, the supreme reality. Shastra adhiti, the study of the scriptures. Nishfala, futile. And there's a word tu in there. Shastra adhiti tu. Tu means indeed. Then in the next line, vigyate has been known. So avigyate and vigyate. So avigyate has not been known. Vigyate is has been known. Api means even. Pare tatve, the supreme reality. Shastra adhiti. Again, the study of the scriptures. Tu means indeed. Nishphala, futile. Yes, Jyoti.
Hershji, Sujata has a question.
Yes, Sujata.
Sujata, you have to unmute.
Unmute, please.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't letting me unmute, sorry.
It's okay.
But could you, I mean, I wanted to go back to the 4 stages of verbalization, I guess, is what I would
Yes.
perceive it as. So per is just the original sound, right? Om.
It's like a par could be considered as a intuition.
Intuition, okay.
It's just like there's no words for it. Neither you can explain, nor you can put it down
in words, in any kind of, yeah.
No, but you know it.
But you know it.
You know it so clearly. But it's beyond words. Don't we sometimes say, I love you so much?
Can't put it in words.
Can't put it into words. Right? We are familiar with that kind of a terminology.
Yeah.
So that's what par is.
And then,
okay. Then it's a little grosser than that. You see it. It has become little. That's why I said it will be almost like a om. The vibration of it.
Okay. All right.
Then it becomes a little bit more grosser, more grosser.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right.
And then it becomes a common language.
Got you. So per actually means the intuition. Okay.
Par really means intuition. It's like a, that's how the rishis, don't we say that they are the seers? They saw those mantras. In their samadhi, they witnessed it. It's almost like those mantras, they were speaking to them. Not in a language which we talk about, but then with the help of their own intellectual understanding, they could write it down. Okay. Yes, Jyoti.
Manju Malhotra.
Namaste, Hershji. I guess you just explained it. It was the same thing. I was going to say with an example. So you gave it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay. So now this particular verse where we are, verse number 59, this is really a beautiful example of the use of a deliberate statement of a contradiction. Because these scholars or these saints, they really use this so that we can think it through. Without knowing the supreme reality, the study of these scriptures is futile. Futile means fruitless. So without knowing the supreme reality, the study of the scriptures is futile. Having known the supreme reality, the study of the scriptures is again futile. It's a pretty beautiful verse actually with the simple terms. So it's almost like a paradox is resolved when these saints talk like that. So little conscious application of purified intellect on the knowing. The key word is knowing in both the lines of the verse. So knowing and without knowing, avigyate and vigyate. So without knowing in the first and having known in the second. In both cases, knowing has a different meaning. The literal and the indicative meaning. So in the first line, it means intellectual understanding. And in the second line, it means realizing. Okay, realizing. So as long as we have no right intellectual apprehension, this verse is saying that all study of the scriptures is futile if you don't even understand it. If you don't even understand the deeper significance of what we are studying, it has no meaning. It's a fruitless. See, just like to the little kids also, when we have them memorize those mantras, we always want to make sure they know the meaning also. Otherwise, it's a fruitless. And then when we have realized the truth, the study of the scriptures is redundant then. Again, going to that example, if there is a ladder, if we don't even climb on the ladder, that ladder is fruitless. When we have reached the rooftop, then the ladder is fruitless. Make sense? So in other words, what he is saying, when we are studying, make sure you study it properly. You understand the meaning of it. Because to study, even to study the scripture, ultimately we have to know ourselves. When we have known ourselves, then study is not needed. Because studies, they are only the means, not the end. Okay, so that's what he's trying to say. Yes, Jyoti.
Sujata.
I was going to say, so basically study.
Study with understanding.
Study with understanding until you get.
And then practice.
Yeah.
Then practice.
Study and practice till you
Study, reflection. So that's why Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. Those stages we should never forget. Okay? Because sometimes we think that, yeah, as a human being, I should just study only. No. What do we do with this after we study? Okay, practice. And after practicing, where are we going? We need to know ourselves. Yes, Kim. Kim has a question?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. So very simple language, very deep meaning. So we should not look at only the simplicity of these words. We got to look at the meaning behind these words over here. So beautiful example he's giving us. Then in the next one, he says, Shabad jalam maha aranam chit brahman karanam ataha priyatan gyatavyam tatva gya tatva atmanaha. Shabad jalam. That's a collection of words. That's a Shabad Jal collection. Maha Aranyam. Aranya means a forest. Maha Aranya means a thick forest or a thick jungle. Chit Brahman Karnam. Cause for the confusion of mind. Chit Brahman Karnam. Atah means therefore, Prayatnat, by effort. Gyatavyam, should come to experience. Tattva Gyaya, the true seekers of the Brahma. Okay, who want to know in reality, Tattva. Tattva means essence. The seekers of that essence, which is Brahma. Tattvam, the real nature. Atmanaha, the self. So commentaries on philosophies constitute a thick jungle in which a roaming mind may easily get lost in its own delusion. Because in mind, we already have so many thoughts, so many ideas. We put more in there, we get even further lost. Therefore, true seekers of Brahma should, through right effort, come to experience the real nature of the self. So effort is needed. That's why study is important. But do not get lost in these words only. Practice and then experience. Okay, otherwise it's just a big, thick jungle, especially in our Vedic literature. How much do we have? Countless scriptures. Even though the essence is the same, but still there's so many scriptures. It's a library of the scriptures. If we think that, no, we got to memorize all of it, how lost we will be. After studying, reflect upon it, and then practice. So here he is conveying to us the idea that mere philosophical discussion is a dangerous jungle, pretty dark and dreary. Even an intellectual master of a perfect scholarship now and then can tumble down, actually, because there could be some contradictions. Outwardly, they seem contradictions. They are almost like unseen potholes. We don't want to fall in them. So that's why this Acharya is giving us a warning that effort is needed. Sometimes we just enter into all this discussion with a hasty enthusiasm. That's almost like going into the jungle without a flashlight. So we got to be very careful, because the chances are that our minds will get overburdened with contradictory assertions or in the wordy arguments. Be careful. Be careful. Number 61. Agyan sarap dashtasya hai brahm gyan aushadam bina kimu vedescha shastrascha kimu mantre kimi aushadaya. Agyan sarap dashtasya. Of one smitten by the serpent of ignorance, okay, or bitten by the snake of ignorance. Brahma Oshadhi, the remedy of knowledge of Brahma. Oshadhi over here means the remedy. Bina means without. Kim means of what? Ved, the Vedas. Jo means and. Shastre, the scriptures. Mantra, the mantras. The Kim Oshde. Again, Kim means what? What avail? Oshde means are the medicines. So for him who has been bitten by the snake of ignorance, the only remedy is the knowledge of Brahma. Of what use are the Vedas and the scriptures, mantras and the medicines to such a victim of poison? So in other words, the real problem is the ignorance, the avidya in us. We have forgotten who we are. We got to get rid of the ignorance. Do not get lost into the details where you are not getting to go where you need to go. Because knowledge of the absolute is that which removes ignorance. We are after that knowledge. This has nothing to do with the body, mind, the senses. When a person has been bitten by a snake, a person doesn't ask irrelevant questions then. Like, how large was the snake? When was it born? How fast it was moving? Because it's not important anymore. What is important? How to get that poison out of the body. The same way the poison in us is that we don't know who we are, the ignorance. So we need to get rid of the ignorance. So the only antidote for the poison of ignorance is the knowledge of the absolute. Brahma Vidya. Okay. And now he is going to tell us we need a direct experience of it. Not somebody else's experience, our own experience. Na gachati vinapanam vyadhi vyadhir osha shabdata vina aproksh anubhavam brahm shabden na muchyate. Na gachati. Na means not, gachati means goes. Bina means without. Panam means drinking. See, when we break down these words, it's a very simple Sanskrit. Most of these words, if we know Hindi, we are used to it. Vyadhi, the disease. Oshad Shabdada, by mere utterances of the name of medicines. Okay, Shabad of the Oshadi. Bina aproksh anubhav Brahm Shabde. Without a direct realization, by the simple utterance of the word Brahma. Okay, aproksh means direct experience. Na muchyate, not liberated. A disease is not cured by merely repeating the name of the medicine and without taking it. Without a direct realization, by a mere utterance of the word Brahma, none can be liberated. So we can keep saying Om, Om, Om all our life, or if we can keep on saying even the Aham Brahmasmi, without even realizing it, just mere words are not going to take us there. That's what he's trying to tell us. So a person suffering from ignorance cannot expect to be cured by merely repeating the word Brahma. Because sometimes we think that we can just do the malas. Doing other things, just doing the malas. Our thoughts are not there into the name of the God, and we think the name of the God is going to take care of all our problems. No, that's not how it works. So that's why he's giving us a really beautiful example here, that no matter how effective the medicine may be, but if the patient doesn't take it, he's not going to get cured by looking at the bottle or even holding the bottle or even reading the prescription again and again. It has to be taken. So by merely repeating hours the word medicine, and over here the name of the medicine, we are saying the name of God, our ignorance is not going to be removed. Okay. We got to learn how to become one with it, the intimate personal experience. And this is what Aparoksha Anubhav is. Aparoksha Anubhav is a subjective realization. Most intimate and immediate, total and permanent. Only then it's called Aparoksha. But before this, there has to be a Paroksha Gyan. Paroksha is like intellectually understanding it. That's a Paroksha. Paroksha is direct. It just becomes our. So intellectual appreciation is the way to reach truth, and a full subjective apprehension of the self is the goal. Okay. So just like a darkness can end only in the presence of light. That's how important this intuitive knowledge is. Akritvaha drishye vilyam अज्ञात्वः तत्वम् आत्मनः ब्रह्म शब्दे कुतौ मुक्ति उक्तिः मात्र फले निर्नाम akritvaha, having not caused. See, kritva means doing something. Akritva means not knowing, having not caused. Drishya Vilayam, the dissolution of the world of perceptions. Agyatva, not having realized. Agyatva. Tattvam Atmanaha, the real nature of the self. Second line, Brahm Shabde, by the word Brahma. Brahm Shabde. So over here it really means the repetition of the word Brahm. Kutaha means how. Mukti, liberation. Ukti matra phalai, the fruits of only word. Nari nam, that means the people. Without effecting the dissolution of the scene, or in other words, without achieving the disappearance of the entire pluralistic world, and without knowing the truth of the self, how can one achieve liberation by mere repetition of the word Brahm? The result is merely noise. So in other words, it will end only in a wasteful effort of speech. These are only words then. We can keep on saying Brahm, Brahm, Brahm. We can keep on saying Om, 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 or any other kind of a mantra. If you're just saying only the mantra from the mouth, he's saying it will end only in a wasteful effort of speech. Mukti, ukti matra. Okay? Our mouth can get tired, but we will not attain liberation. So the conditions preceding the full state of liberation are explained here. See, with the body, we recognize the waking state, the names and the forms. With the mind, we perceive the world of feelings and emotions. And with the intellect, we experience and recognize our world of ideas. But all of them have the boundaries. They're all limited. We got to learn how to transcend all that. And that's what he means over here when he says without effecting the dissolution of the scene. Because this is what is seen to us right now. The grosser is seen to us. We pay more attention to the gross. But the unseen, which is the truth, we don't pay much attention. So on awakening to the full spiritual consciousness of Godhood, all of this becomes unseen. So he says, what you see right now, it will become unseen because you will see the reality behind it. But the mere discussion, idle repetition, arguments, that is not enough. We need to talk less and practice more. Number 64. Akritvaha shatru sahar agatvaha akhil bhumishrim raja aham iti shabdano raja bhavatu aharati. Akritva, again the same word, without having accomplished. Shatru samharam, the elimination of enemies. Agatva, having not brought. Akhil bhushriyam, all the wealth of the kingdom. See, bhu is the earth, shri over here means the wealth. Raja aham, I am the king, I am the emperor. Iti means thus. Shabdat, by mere words. No, that means not. Raja means emperor. Bhavitum, to become. Aharati, deserves. Without eliminating his enemies and without bringing the entire land of his kingdom under his sway. By merely repeating, I am the king, one cannot become a king. Okay? See, very simple examples Shankaracharya is giving us so that we can understand the meaning. And again, it's the same thought pattern. Okay? So it's necessary to fulfill all the required conditions in our inner life before we can experience the infinite. And that's why right in the beginning of the scripture, he talked about those qualities we need to work on. Sham, Dam, Uprati, Titiksha, all those qualities. See, there could be outer enemies for a king, but our own inner enemies, we need to conquer those too. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, all those, right? Those are our enemies. If we have not conquered those enemies, we will not know who we are. So it's a very apt example. He's trying to make us understand that by mere verbal repetition, nothing can be accomplished. Okay, so a king has to conquer his enemies before he can declare himself that he is the emperor. So we have to destroy all our inner enemies. And inner enemies, Lord Krishna, what did he call these? He said, calm. The desires and thoughts, physical demands, mental appetites, intellectual wanderings, all of that, those are all enemies. We have to become a master over those. Okay? So, mere repeating that I am Brahm is not going to take us anywhere. Every thought, every idea that rise in us, alongside we got to have a connection with God. And he's going to tell us this self-effort is needed for that. It's not going to happen automatically. Self-effort is needed. Self-effort is very powerful. And that's what he says in the next verse. It's a longer verse, verse number 65. आप्त उक्तिम खनन तथोपरि शिला ध्यु उत्कर्षणम सविकृतम निक्षेपः संपेक्षते नहीं बहि शब्द अस्तु निर्गच्छति तद्वद ब्रह्म विद उपदेश मनन ध्यान आदि निर्लभ्यते माया कार्ये तिरोहितम स्वम अमलम तत्वम न दुर्युक्ति भी आप्त उक्तिम. Aptuktim is the words of a reliable person or instructions from a competent person. And that's where the Guru comes into our life. Khananam, the act of digging. Like when a person does the excavation. Tatha means in that way, upari, lying above. Shila dhyut karshanam, removing of stones, etc. Savikritim, grasping. Nikshepaha, treasure. Sampekshate, required. Na hi bahi. Na means not, he means indeed, bahi means by words called out. Bahi. Shabad, the words tu means but, nirgachati, never comes out. Tadvad, so also. Brahmvid, by the knower of the Brahm. Upadesh, manan, dhyan, adi bhi. See, Upadesh is the instructions given by the Guru. Manan is the reflection Dhyan is the meditation. Adi means etc. So that's why I said the effort we need to make. Labhte, gained. Maya karye tiro hitam, hidden under the Maya and its effects. So means the self, amalam, the pure. See, mal means impure, amal means pure. Tattvam, the reality, na means not, duryukti bhi, through perverted reasoning. So again, he is giving us a beautiful example. A treasure hidden deep below under the earth can be found only when the exact site is known. Excavations carried out and the earth stones, etc., hiding it are removed. So first we have to know where it is, then we have to make sure all the obstacles have been removed. So even in the outer field, this is the way to do it. Never can it come out if merely calling by name. We cannot just stand over here and say that we're gonna just get the treasure from the earth out. It could be any kind of a treasure. All the treasure has come out of the earth, but with a proper knowledge and proper excavation. Similarly, the pure truth of the self which lies hidden beneath our delusion and its effects can be attained through the instructions of one who is a knower of the Brahma. So person who knows it, followed by reflection, meditation, etc. But never can the self emerge and manifest itself as a result of repeating perverted arguments. He uses a very strong word over here, duryukti bhi, perverted. Normally we use these words also to put others down. We think our name is the best. The name of the God which we say is the best, others are no good. That is a duryukti. So this is a real treasure hunt which we are doing. Just like from the outer treasure, we need the enthusiasm, we need the energy, we need the tools to dig out. And then there's a slowly, steadily, hopeful, with patience, with perseverance, with continuous digging, we remove it. And when we take it out, when we find it also, we dig it, even at that time, we need a level-headed and a calm enough mind, not to lose our balance. In the same fashion, we dig out our own essence also. There is an infinitely rich treasure of perfection that lies unseen in the layers of matter envelopments in us. And this is called the own self. We think this body is beautiful with all these senses. We think mind is so beautiful, intellect is there, ego is there, chit is there. Sure, it's all powerful. But when we go into this spiritual treasure hunt, the endeavor of digging is made how? See, outside we can use bulldozers. We can use different high-level technical equipment these days. Computerized equipments. Underneath the ocean also we can just find treasures. But over here, what do we use? This great Rishi is telling us, we need the axe of thought, the spade of discrimination. We remove the attachments with the body and with the mind.
Repeat this, please.
Yes.
Spiritual endeavor
In the
points.
spiritual treasure hunt, the endeavor of digging is made with the acts of thought. So that is, see, Lord Krishna used the same word. He said acts. So acts of thought and the speed of discrimination. And what do we do with these? We remove the attachments with the body, mind, and intellect. Because this body, mind, and intellect are the effects of the ignorance in us. We became ignorant of our real nature and we think we are the body, or we are our mind and we are the intelligent people. So avidya or the ignorance can be removed only by reflection and meditation. Reflection and meditations are the tools for our mind and intellect. Or you are familiar with the manan and dhyanam, reflection. Prepare this mind for a single pointed application by bringing it to the state of least agitation. If mind gets agitated with something temporary, everything is temporary outside. If mind gets agitated, that's not a yogi's mind. We got to work on this mind. And this is the condition of the mind and intellect, which is fit for a vichar. We discussed the vichar a couple of weeks ago. Highest spiritual sadhana known to human beings, vichar. So that's why this Acharya is crying out to us. With the help of so many examples, with the help of so many verses, that's all he's saying to us. Do the sadhana. Because only with the help of the sadhana will be able to get rid of the avidya, the ignorance. There's no other way. If you're looking for some shortcut, going somewhere, meeting somebody, it's not going to happen. We have to start doing the sadhana where we are. I'm going to do one more verse, then we'll stop. I know it's time, but we started the class a little late too. When I'm on a roll, it's very hard to stop. So, Tasmat, is anybody saying something? No? Okay. Tasmat sarv pratnena bhav bandh vimuktaye swerev yatnaha kartavyo rogad iv panditahe. Tasmat, because this is like a concluding verse of the last 9 verses. So that's why I wanted to finish this verse also. Tasmat, therefore, sarva pratnen, by all the means, bhav bandh, for the liberation from the bondage of repeated births and deaths, bhav bandh, vimukte, vimukte means liberation, sway, by one's own. So that means by yourself, that is the means. Ev means alone, yatan means effort, kartavya must be done, rog adav as in illness, etc. Iv means also panditah, by the wise seekers. Therefore, an intelligent seeker should, as in the case of illness, etc., strive hard by all the means at his disposal to be free from the bondage of birth and death. So over here, the real illness is the bondage of the birth and death. Bhav bandh, bondage. It's called a bhav sagar also, coming again and again over here. So what he is saying in this concluding verse with this 10th shlok. So started out with verse number 56. this discussion. So now he has emphasized again the importance of the self-effort. We can do it only ourselves. Nobody else can do it for us. But that somebody can teach us, but practice we need to do. Nobody can practice for us. So with all sincerity, with all regularity, in the right direction, only we can move. So again, he's giving us a simile here that like a patient, we need to take the medicine. Nobody else can take the medicine for us. So the same way, this is our own disease. The bondage is our bondage, and we need to get rid of it by ourselves. So ignorance created in us all the maladjustments of the spirituality in us, the real nature of ourselves, the supreme perfection in us. The ignorance has covered it. We got to remove that ignorance. Okay, so we'll start with number 67. We'll see more. He talks about the questions which the student has raised, and he'll glorify the student again. So we'll start with 67 now. Any questions before we end this class? No question? Okay. All right. So let's do the Shanti mantra then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.